Science, with a high level of confidence, describes man as a member of that order of the animal kingdom called primates. Men, like other primates, and for that matter, like all other animals and plants, constantly face the myriad problems of adaptation to the conditions of life on this earth. For the human-animal adaptation may mean a genetic alteration in skin color or lung capacity or ability to withstand cold, but it also means discovering and inventing ways and means dealing with nature, other men, perhaps with the inner man. Activism provides man with the necessary equipments to rediscover one's own true self, making the individual capable dealing or tackling with his or her own problems, unlock their maximum potential, and transcend every hurdles or obstacles life throws in our journey and make the maximum of it. Let's knowledge.
Activism wholeheartedly welcomes the audience for taking part in its research, conversation, and engagement program. It makes people aware of its research based observation about the problem and the best course of action for solving the problems based on the information the cases have provided to activism all along. It is impossible for activism to showcase all the cases hitherto examined. So, for the matter of time consideration, activism invites audience to take a keen interest in the three cases to be presented as being so related to current social problems. Let's start with the pain life offered to the case 17B.
Life is not equivalent for all individuals, and everyone needs a little inspiration from time to time to deal with the worst of situations. They, as a social being, start making adjustments with others in society, share their pain and laughter by becoming interdependent on each other for performing certain basic functions. The interdependence among people makes each party remain self-sufficient and self-determining. That is one part of the tale of life. But what happens when it leads to absolute dependency kind of proclivity on any individual? In absolute dependency, one of the individual leans so heavily on other that both of them are left off balance, and in order to get their dependency needs met, they act in desperation and their true identities get distorted. Activism had confronted one such case of absolute dependence and parenting in 2017 when a woman came for help, naming the case as 17B. The would-be single woman faces severe difficulties in parenting her only child, along with other social and personal problems like ongoing stage of divorce with her husband, health and medical problems, maintenance case, custodian case, and a broad perplexed situation of how to deal with all this at the same time. For all of the parents, their basic concern is the well-being of their child, and they try hard to get their child a secured position, but in doing so, they often neglect the distinction between good parenting and bad parenting. Because every parent tends to think whatever they are doing is for the best of its child. The case 17B, with a similar approach, asked activism, if you can show me the path to proceed in life and how to nurture my child, which forms the core of my problems, what should I do for the development of my child? Activism, in its mission to increase the functionality of human beings, soon extended its help to the distressed woman. The interview was taken to investigate the stated problems, and later it was found that the major problem was not parenting itself, but absolute dependency, which creates various overlapping subproblems, and among them has been the issue of parenting. What solution activism suggested?
It was never like for activism to help the case with only certain tips and shortcuts. Activism, in order to confirm the tendency of her inherent absolute dependency, investigated the case by conducting a dependent personality disorder test. It was no surprisingly came positive, so much that activism even recommended for a cognitive behavioral therapy by preferred clinical psychologist to solve her problems scientifically, which, if unresolved, could have even led to borderline personality disorder. Though the issue of parenting was core to the problem of case, activism has found its root in her absolute dependency, which, if resolved, could ease her task for parenting. The development of child cannot happen unless the child is given a space to explore himself. An all-time iWatch of case 17B over her child was restrictive to that space. The over-interference was hampering the relationship and parenting in both sides. Thus, a personal space was suggested to be given for the child, so that with time the child can adjust and share his feelings too with his mother. Additionally, Case 17B had an intrinsic belief that her betterment of child could take place if her distressing divorce phenomena could be thwarted, which was about to happen, and unnecessarily this belief was found tormenting the case through a deep dig investigation. True, there is no end to the plethora of beliefs people hold, but this belief sometimes leads mind towards making creative problems. The thought of divorce was so deeply entrenched in the mind of Case that the woman started seeing it through the lens of child development. This logic of Case was found flawed after investigation. However, a steady progress from the case is expected in this matter. Apart from this, the engagement of Case by making different investment into varied business was running at loss, as it was not going well with her temperament, as activism diagnosed. But the, the engagement of Case 17B with practicing music and helping NGO was much appreciated, which could lessen her emotional dependence. And opening of music classes was suggested to solve her problem of proceeding in life economically.
গানের মধ্যে ঘটছে এখানে কিন্তু কঠোরতার প্রয়োজন নেই এখানে কাউকে কিছু চাওয়ার প্রয়োজন নেই তাহলে কি হচ্ছে এটা তোমার প্রকৃতির সাথে একেবারে মিলে যাচ্ছে এই যে তুমি নিজস্ব জগৎ গানের মধ্যে দিয়ে অনেকে তৈরি করেছে কয়েক কিন্তু পারলো না তো করেছে তুমিও পারো এইগুলোকে কিন্তু মাথায় রাখতে হবে আর একটা বিষয় কি
Activism, with all its possible efforts, tried to address the problems of Case 17B with the hope that a mother finds parenting solutions and the same woman gets a hope to live life happily and independently. Activism dealt with another such case. Similar may it seem like the previous case to some extent. This case presented itself with its own set of limitations and problems. Hence, the outcome was very different than the last one.
For a mother, her child is the hope of love and trust. Mother doesn't think twice to give up everything for her child. But most of the times, we cannot recognize the pain while upbringing her child. Today, we will try to show a heart-touching problem of a mother to you all. A woman who gave 20 to 22 years of her life for the upbringing of her child, for which she left her career and identity. Even after getting pressure from the in-laws, she kept her calmness and tried to solve her child's problem, helping her child in every stage to become successful. But while helping her child in each and every stage, she did not even realize when she started getting possessive about him and became a patient of hypertension. When her son was not getting successful in his career, she started to blame it on herself. She started fighting over his son's career choice. Not getting any solution, she started to worry more. Sugar, pressure, anxiety, these types of diseases started to develop in her body. But there is one more story behind her helplessness. Her only regret is that even if she is well educated, she has become a housewife. She used to get very happy while teaching her student, and all her pain and regret used to disappear at that moment. But after shifting to Kolkata, there is not enough scope of interacting with anyone for a prolonged period of time. This lack of interaction has led to many mental and physical problems. No doctor could help her to solve the problem. While fighting with her circumstance, exhausted, she came to the door of activism, desperately wanting to find solution to her problem. Activism provided solace to her troubled mind, came forward to help her.
After 4 rounds of interview and in-depth analysis of the case, Activism reached the conclusion that her main problem is not tension or anxiety, but her primary problem is possessive individuality and disengagement, from where her other problems are starting. Activism, with the help of C.B. Macpherson's Individualism and Possessiveness and other major important works of social science, tried to make her understand that it is not only her who is facing this problem. There are thousands and thousands of people who are facing the same problem. This is a functional problem which is not only her problem but also the family members, which is leading to less interaction. Activism made her understand that it is a functional problem. By developing alternate practice, she can get rid from this problem. Activism suggested her to get more active after talking to her husband and son. While helping her child to be successful, she stopped interacting with the outside world for a long time, which affected her in the due course of action. In the next stage, activism tried to make her understand about praxis and engagement. She needs to get more active with her health. Activism told her to focus more on teaching, writing and handcrafting.
সে কনসিভ করেছে। সেদিন থেকেই কিন্তু সন্তানের সাথে তার একটা ইমোশনাল অ্যাটাচমেন্ট তৈরি হয়ে যায়। কিন্তু তারপর যত দিন যাচ্ছে, আফটার 9 months অর সার্টেন ডেজ, সন্তানকে তো জন্ম দিতে হচ্ছে।
Activism wants to say its viewers that they have successfully helped the woman to again focus on her life. Now at present, she is not that much possessive about her son as she was before. Now she has better interaction with her son and family. She has successfully overcome her identity crisis. Recently, she has made a boutique exhibition in a well-known mall in South Kolkata.
We now move on to our next case. This case is the case of a dynamic man possessing the virtues of leadership, turning every challenge in life into an opportunity, fighting his way through adverse conditions, has climbed up the ladder of success. Suddenly, he lost the capability to cope up with his ordinary life after his retirement. Stumbling in the dark, he came knocking on activism's door to show him the light. Let's start with this unique problem which activism resorted to solve.
Since childhood, I have struggled in an adverse environment and established myself. I continued my studies with my spirit undaunted, and during college life, I got introduced in student politics. Very passionately, I first acquired the necessary skills and orientations related to political activity and rose among the ranks and eventually mentored many future leaders at that time. Activism sees these significant milestones have created a deep impact on the case's mind. He used to diplomatically control and execute activities in his workplace. The subject has well acquired the technique of handling the situations of public life and keeping it different with private life. However, life became miserable for him in the post-retirement phase, and the situation day by day was getting out of control. This self-made man, who was suddenly finding himself all alone, helpless, roaming in the dark, and finding nobody to share his true feelings, was gradually disengaging himself from any institutional activity. In this situation, the case came to activism mainly with two problems. Firstly, his peace of mind is getting devastated, which is leading to sudden outbursts of anger, not able to take a firm decision anymore, easily getting irritated, suffering from directionlessness, which are all contradictory to his natural character, thus leading to depression. Secondly, family problems and rapidly worsening of relationship due to his wife's behavior, expression, aggressive mentality, and constant interference in his personal sphere of life, all these made his post-retirement life more troublesome.
But according to activism's analysis, the main problem of case is decontrol and disengagement, which results in his powerlessness. The case started to have a tendency to demoralize himself and belittling his self-esteem, which is making him weak from within. The study in several interviews presented the main cause for the losing of self-control is the tendency of decontrol and disengagement of the subject in his post-retirement life. This was caused by alienation of self from the society, though not completely. Also, his interaction with others is not that institutional to provide him the scope for using his skills effectively. To tackle all this, the case even thought of his own solutions, which might be necessary but not sufficient conditions. Activism opined it would, for time being, help to relieve the case but not permanently solve the problem. Activism suggested that the case has to establish communication with the society in an effective manner, which would in return increase his functionality level. It means developing contact with those institutions or relations where he can contribute according to his strength, skill, and will. Activism, taking this entire due note, suggests the case has to take initiative and make the rearrangement happen by limiting this disengagement and regain control of his own environment by establishing a more positive approach for solving various familial problems. The given facts have presented the picture of severe lack of mutual respect of the husband and wife for each other. This is also a major cause of the better relationship with his wife and their ongoing relationship trouble. To serve this purpose in the best way possible, the case has to become qualitatively eligible to undertake alternative praxis and appropriate engagement, along with proper understanding and right responding aptitude. This engagement, as activism recommends, must be both at home, like relieving the wife from some stress of work by doing some household chores, and by getting involved in system building of some sort with like minded people, which requires goal oriented planning and execution outside home, such as creating a reading club, organizing blood donation camp at periodic intervals. Through this, activism suggests exploring various subjects according to cases' own comfort and interest, keeping in mind physical, familial, and other circumstances that requires a bit of planning and homework, such as something related to history or any other social awareness program. Moreover, the case was suffering from inner turmoil and considering himself as a failure, as he created an image of an ideal life partner in his own imagination and cannot control his wife as he expected her to be. For this, activism suggests advancing their relationship on each other's needs, which was the primary foundation of their relation before focusing on each other's expectations. The case's life became totally home centric in his post retirement period, who used to be actively engaged in various activities before, that in reality gave more importance to expectations than necessary. Thus, activism recommends changing the mode of interaction to strike a balance between expectation and necessity.
অবশ্যই ওটা এত লাইট সেশন নয়, কিন্তু আপনি নিজেই একটা জায়গায় আমার কথার কাউন্টার করছিলেন যে প্রত্যেকটা জিনিসের কিন্তু রিলেশন আছে। কোট আনকোট আপনি এই কথা কিন্তু আজকে বলেছেন, কোট আনকোট আপনি থাকে তাহলে আমি নিরাপত্তাহীনতায় তখনই ভুগবো যখন আপনি আমার সঙ্গে থেকে অনেক দূরে থাকছেন।
Lastly, what we understood from our long course of interview and analysis from the given data is that, in reality, the case is a man of great personality, with so many virtues that, If taken the right course of action, he would definitely overcome his present problems and transcend his limitations.
For keeping all the cases lined up with activism's method, activism wholeheartedly express its thanks to hard-working research executives without whom it could not have been possible, and their dedication made the activism to go a step ahead with high aspirations for helping the people in future as well. We express our gratitude to you also for your cooperation, and we hope that you all would stand by our side to help us go further in our noble deeds.